Here, all new at 6. Police wanting answers after they say a local hospital had security escort a very sick man out of a hospital. Someone called 911 after finding the man collapsed just steps from the front doors. He still had medical tubes coming out of his body and ended up in the ER. Channel 2 investigative reporter Mark Winnie now live outside Piedmont Rockdale Hospital. Mark, you talked to an officer who helped rescue the man.
Yeah, we went to an address where the patient had apparently lived. We tried him by cell phone. We got a statement in behalf of the hospital, but we also have reviewed police documents, interviewed a Conyers police deputy chief, and reviewed a 911 call. And those things say a lot.
Conyers 911, where's your emergency?
Hi, sir, I am leaving out this medical complex, and there is a gentleman, looks like he just came from the hospital, but he is passed out on the ground.
Common sense dictates that you do not treat human beings the way that we're seeing in this particular case.
He's not responding. I don't know if he's okay or what.
The call came to Conyers 911
It's at the Piedmont Rockdale Hospital.
from a concerned citizen.
Poor guy. But it probably needs an ambulance, but he's right in front of the Piedmont Rockdale emergency entrance.
Says Conyers Police Deputy Chief Scott Freeman, who says he's concerned too about the circumstances of a 68-year-old man's discharge from Piedmont Rockdale Hospital Thursday based on what he and other emergency responders saw firsthand or later learned.
He was clearly incoherent.
Freeman says one of his officers documented that a hospital employee said the 68-year-old man had been staying at the hospital 35 days, that Medicare would no longer continue to pay for his treatment at the hospital, and that security dressed him and walked him out. The deputy chief says an officer was told the man was, as a report says, cleared as fit to leave by 2 physicians and the hospital wanted him gone.
I don't have a good feeling about it. I think it's inhumane.
A statement says, at Piedmont, our purpose is to make a positive difference in every life we touch. We can only provide the best care with the cooperation and consent of the patient. It adds, we do our best to connect patients in need with community partners and social service organizations to provide appropriate after-hospital care, but ultimately accepting these services is at the discretion of the patient.
Literally ejected out to the sidewalk with no help whatsoever. That's just not how we treat people here in this city or this county.
Freeman says National EMS and Rockdale Fire responded, and a paramedic told him the man had a fever, signs of sepsis, which Freeman says is a dangerous internal infection, a urinary tract infection, an elevated heart rate. He says he was loaded on an ambulance to go to the ER.
He needed to be in the emergency department.
Now, Piedmont Healthcare says, unfortunately, hospitals often find themselves caring for people who cannot get into the kind of facilities that bridge the gap between hospital and home.
Ronald Anderson is a diabetic and wheelchair bound. He says he's been a patient at Avalon Villa Care Center in Athens Village for the past year. But last week, staff at Avalon Villa told him they could no longer care for him and they were taking him to a homeless shelter.
I was freaking out. I was panicking because I know from previous experience that being in the wheelchair and the condition I'm in, I can't take care of myself in a homeless shelter.
Anderson was dropped off at Union Rescue Mission with no medication.
They gave me no insulin, no needles, no machine to test my blood sugar.
It's almost like attempted murder because you can't live. As a type 1 diabetic or type 2 diabetic, you can't live without your medication.
Reverend Andy Bale says this isn't the first time the mission has had a problem with hospital dumping. In 2008, the mission set up a camera and caught several hospitals and care facilities dropping their disabled patients at the shelter, many without their consent.
They are supposed to care for people until they're better, not until they're tired of them or they can't pay and then dump them on the streets.
Avalon Villa Care Center released this statement. Avalon Villa Care Center adheres to the highest level of ethics and morals, and the care of our patients is our #1 priority. All care, including the discharge of patients, is conducted in compliance with all laws and regulations. However, Anderson says he never signed the discharge paperwork and told Avalon Villa he needed help getting into an assisted care facility, but he says they wouldn't listen.
It's soul-crushing. I mean, dehumanizing. They don't treat people like humans there.
The rescue mission says hospital dumping isn't just wrong, it's illegal, and they're starting to see another spike in the practice. The city attorney met with Anderson today as well as staff from the shelter. The rescue mission believes that legal action is likely.
I was in a car crash and it completely shattered my hip and pelvis. Right here, I got like 30-something screwed.
Matthew Hauber and his mother claim a similar story. They met us in front of Wayside Mission in the spot where they say he was dumped in October.
Anywhere. They said, well, we can't find a rehab right now.
Linda Hauber said when Norton Hospital told her they had a room lined up for Matthew at Wayside, she checked it out.
I called Wayside Christian Mission and just to confirm, and they said no. They said we can't do that. We can't. You know, they have beds and they help them find jobs and stuff, but we don't take medically needy people. We don't do that. And
Then she says she had a conference call with the hospital staff.
the social worker said, we're going to take him to a shelter. And I said, which one? And they said, Wayside Christian Mission. And I said, well, I know that's not true because I called them and they don't take him. And then the lady said, the social worker said, well, that's history. Let's think of something else.
Hauber says the next day her son was unloaded from a transport vehicle on the curb in the rain on Jackson Street in front of Wayside.
I thought they've dumped my garbage. I have to put out to the curb. That's how they dumped my son, like garbage.
Linda Hauber said she was in no shape to care for him at home, and she died after this interview.